words can read. Hey guys, it's Katie and welcome to another video, and in today's video I'm going to be doing my top 16 books of 2016. Now at first I thought this was going to be quite hard to compile together because I'm not one of those massive readers. I don't read like 200 books a year and I pretty much only just achieved my Goodreads goal of 75 books anyway, so I was like, okay, I wonder if there's going to be like 16 books that I really enjoyed this year that I would recommend. So it was actually quite easy to get together this list, and many of these books I actually gave 5 out of 5 stars, and they are physical books that I have kept myself. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Number 16 on my list is Crush by Eve Ainsworth, and I've met this author. She's great. I've also read, I think it's 7 Days by this author, and it's kind of like a bullying sort of novel, and this one is a really great young adult contemporary that is sort of how love can crush you in not just like a physical way but in sort of like a mental way, and that's just basically what this is about. So it's kind of a romance between these two people and how this romance can crush you in many ways. But I thought it was really good and I liked how it came across, and I really enjoy it, and I completely recommend for any of you guys to give it a read. Coming at number 15 is Flawed by Cecilia A. Hearn. Now she is normally a chick lit-y sort of novelist, and I don't think I've read much by her like in the chick lit sort of world, but I just adored her young adult novel, and this is a great sort of dystopian novel that had actually been quite hit and miss with a lot of people, but I was one of the people that got it as a hit. And this is just basically like in a society, in this world where you're sort of like, you can be marked as flawed, and this main girl character one day is just marked as flawed, and it's just sort of like what happens with her along it, what happens with the families, how people are treated. And there is going to be like a sequel to this, which I was quite like shocked and amazed at, but like how this book ends, it just does leave me wanting more, and I really enjoyed it. I love dystopians as they are, so I thought this was like a different sort of aspect, and that's what I really enjoyed about it. So I'm really looking forward to the sequel, and I definitely recommend for you to read this book. Now I'm going to recommend to you an anime / manga series that I read. It's the BODY series, and it's by Mimori. I'm so sorry, but I'll place a picture here of like the first book that is in the series, but I completed this series and I really enjoyed it. It's a really sort of cute manga. There is a romance and it's great, and it's sort of like the struggles and the difficulties that comes with it, and then there's this really nice thing at the end of like what happened to these two characters like afterwards and that sort of thing. And I was just hooked on this manga series. I really enjoyed it, and I completely recommend for you guys to give it a read, especially if you're into your animes and your romantic mangas. It was awesome. Coming at number 13, it was a book that I actually read from the library, but I would definitely love to purchase myself because I really enjoyed it, and it's 99 Days by Katie Goodtugno. So I'll place a picture over on this side, and this is basically a contemporary that is about this girl who did something quite drastic, and she has 99 days until she goes off to college. So 99 days to sort of survive with society and everybody pretty much hating her for what she did, and it's just sort of interesting to see what she goes through and how she copes with it and that sort of thing. And I actually flew through this book and I really enjoyed it in the end, and I definitely recommend it. Coming in at number 12, I have Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and I finally got around to reading and completing this. I kind of want to give it a reread though, because I don't remember too much of what it's about. It was months ago since I actually read it, and I would like to give it a reread so that I continue on with the series and then go on to the spin-off, because it's just something that I really want to do. But I do remember really enjoying this, and we'll pretty much know what it is about. I mean, there is Alina, who is an orphan, and she discovers a power that she has, and then there is a darkling who has seductive and terrifying power, and if she has to fulfill her destiny, she must unlock her gift and face up to her dangerous attraction to him. But what happens to Mal, her childhood best friend, as Alina contemplates her dazzling new future? Why can't she ever quite forget him? So yeah, it's definitely a really interesting concept to sort of like a fantasy and a magic story. So yeah, I definitely would love to reread this book, but I really enjoyed this book. Coming in at number 11, I have Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Niven, and she debuts with All the Bright Places, which is one of my ultimate favourite books of all time. So when this book was coming out, it had like very high expectations in my mind, and I was just like, I need to read this book. I loved the concept and the plot of it. It's basically about this overweight teenager, and there's this guy that doesn't recognise faces. He has trouble with it, and so he struggles even with his family and his friends. And so it's just how these two people with their problems, they develop this friendship, how the girl gets really confident, and the same with the guy, and it's just how they sort of work through their problems and stuff together. And I really enjoyed it. I definitely recommend it, and it's just a fantastic contemporary, and I just absolutely love and adore it. Coming in at number 10, I have Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson, which I did do a book talk on, so I will link that down below in the description box. But this is about a girl, and her best friend Sloane has just gone missing one day. She's walked out and all she's left with her with this list of things to do, and so she is like, maybe if I do this list I will find my friend, she will reappear. And so this is just a really great book that's kind of like a little bucket list in order to find her friend, and it's just very adventurous, it's very road trippy. There's a lot of friendship involved in this, even with people that she didn't really have much of a friendship with, and there's new friendships, and obviously there's betrayal and all that sort of stuff. And it was such a good book. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely one of my favourite books, and definitely one of those books you want to read in the summer. It's so good. It really makes me want to do like these sort of list things, just to sort of like boost your confidence and that sort of thing. But it was awesome, and I totally recommend it. Number 9 on my list is Replica by Lauren Oliver, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It was so good. This book is just basically about clones, and it's told from two perspectives. We have Gemma and we have Lyra. One of them is a clone, one of them is a human, and they just sort of meet throughout each story. So it's told from each of their perspectives, but nothing is really sort of like repetitive, which is what I liked about it. Like when going from reading one side of the story to another, I was like, oh my god, is it going to be repetitive, is it going to be boring? But I actually found like it wasn't, and I enjoyed both sides of the story. So I look forward to seeing exactly where the story is going to go. And yeah, I just think it's great how they meet, how their lives are different, how they work together, and it was awesome. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. So yes, a Colleen Hoover book had to be on my list, and this one I really enjoyed, and I enjoyed the message they came across with this. So we have a girl character, and I think her name, yes, is Lily, and she basically meets this guy called Ryle that is on top of this building one night, and they just sort of have this sexual desire for each other, but he doesn't want like anything sort of like romantic. But then he finds that he just wants to be with her. She just wants like a relationship sort of thing. So they have this relationship, but because she has dealt with things like with her mother and abuse, her father used to abuse her mother, and then Ryle sort of pretty much starts to be a bit like her father, and she finds that she can't escape because of certain circumstances that's happening, and it's that sort of thing, and it's just how she deals with it. So yes, it does have a touch of physical abuse in this, and if you really don't like that sort of thing, I don't recommend you to read it, but I recommend you to read it for the message that's come across. It has a very positive ending and a really change of events at the end, and just for the ending you guys need to read it, but even just the events and everything in the book, I was just drawn into the story, and I found that I really enjoyed it because of that. And it was so good in that way. And what I love about Colin Hoover is she writes about real and raw stories. Like, all of her characters just have so many flaws, and that's what I like about it, because nobody is perfect. And yeah, I really enjoyed this book, and I totally recommend it. Coming in at number 7 is this almighty beast, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, the illustrated edition. Although I have read this book many times, I have not read the illustrated edition until this very year, and I recommend it, especially, you know, for just all-time favourites or collectors or all-time fans, or even just for like new fans, really, like children. It's just great. Like, the illustrations are just so perfect going along with the story. I actually was listening to the audiobook whilst reading from this edition, so I recommend doing it that way. But of course, it's a Harry Potter book, so how can I not have this in my list? And then at number 6, I also have the first book, because I read that one as well, and this sort of kickstarted my love for Harry Potter again, even though my love for Harry Potter never ends, but it just sort of like gets you in that fan base again, gets you excited for it again. And yeah, so it was a time when I was sort of listening to the audiobooks again and just reminiscing in the old times and watching all the movies again, listening to the audiobook again, reading it again, and just falling in love again. And it's so cool. Coming in at number 5, I have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, and this book is such a great first book that is in the series. It's really good, and it's super awesome. It's basically about this girl who is like a slave, and she has to be a slave for this guy, and then there's this guy called Elias, and he is a soldier, and she just sort of, there's basically like a rebellion, and she just sort of has to be like a slave for them. And she also just is trying to do something for like her older brother, and it's just basically her brother is arrested for treason. She's forced to make a decision. In exchange for help from the rebels who promise to rescue her brother, she will risk her life to spy for them within the Empire's greatest military academy. That's when she meets Elias, who is the soldier, and he's the school's finest soldier, and secretly is most unwilling, and he wants to be free from the tyranny he's being trained to enforce. So he and Leia will soon realise that their destinies are intertwined and that their choices will change the fate of the Empire itself. So both of them like have their own sort of agendas, and that's how they come together and to help each other with this. And there's just so much that goes on with this, and it's just so good. I actually want to reread this pretty soon, like really badly, and then I've got the sequel, so I would love to go on to reading the sequel, but I kind of want to reread this pretty soon though. Just it was so good, honestly guys. I completely recommend it. It really lives up to the hype, and it's not a lot of books that actually I adore and love when they're really hyped. I tend to dislike them, but this is one that I loved and adored. It is so good. Coming in at number 4, I have A Week of Mondays by Jessica Brody. She is another one of my favourite authors, and when I heard that she was doing this book, I was like, I need to get it. So I pre-ordered it, it came, and I was just like, oh my god. Pretty much started it not long after I got it, and it's so good. It literally is so good. This is basically a contemporary that is about this girl, and she is living the same Monday over and over again for 7 days. She doesn't know why, she doesn't know what she has to do to change it, and basically throughout this book there are some like conversations that are the same, and she's just sort of like, why is this same conversation happening? And she realises it's the same Monday. She gets irritated, she tries to do different things, she tries to do all the good things at once, and then she finds that she can't. So it's just how she overcomes it, and it's so funny. Literally is so funny. I didn't think it would be so hilarious, but it really honestly is. And her friend is so awesome and great. I love the ending. I just love this book completely. I really want to do a book talk on this actually, but I'll probably do it around the time that I actually do a reread on it. But yeah guys, it's such a fantastic contemporary. I love this author. She knows exactly how to excite me and how to make me happy, and she writes exactly what I'm definitely wanting to read, so totally recommend this book. And then I have Never Never Part 3, which was available as an ebook at a time. I pre-ordered all 3 parts. I read one really quickly and I was absolutely hooked. 2 I pretty much read straight away as well, and the same with Part 3. I just loved all of these, and if they honestly end up doing a bind-up edition of all 3 books, then I would definitely purchase it because I want to reread them again. It was so good. It's basically about these 2 characters. I think one's called Charlie and the other is Silas, I think, and they basically were together as a couple, but they had flaws, and then one day they just wake up and they have no memories whatsoever of each other, but they somehow get connected in with their lives again, and they somehow get their memories back again, and then they try to sort of like spark their memory again by writing a note down, so the next morning they wake up and that's what they know so far. So each and every day they are learning something new about themselves, about everything, and why this is happening to them, and there's just so many different twists and turns, and that is just why I really enjoyed this. And it was just a really great ending to the trilogy actually, and I just really liked the message that came across, and it's definitely very gripping and enticing, and that's just why I loved this book series. Book number 2 on my list is Inferno by Catherine Doyle. This is the second book that is in the Blood for Blood saga, Vendetta being the first book, which I also reread just before starting this book, and the third book actually comes out pretty damn soon in January, so I will be on that because I need my Italian boys. So this is basically a mafia Romeo and Juliet retelling, or pretty much like West Side Story I suppose, but with like these mafias, and this girl is involved with it, and then there's these mysterious Italian guys that moved in, so she finds out about them and she develops a romance with one of them, and then she just finds out things about her father, about her uncle, and then this book just continues on with that, and she discovers more about her family. More characters are involved as well in the Italian side of it, and she discovers about her father, more about her uncle and everything, and how she isn't who she is, and it's so good. It's just like you're finding something out all the time throughout. Catherine Doyle is just an amazing writer, like she is just so good. If you really love Romeo and Juliet, if you like the idea of a retelling of it, and oh my god guys, just the guys, the Italian guys, especially Gianluca, he is my bae, my love, and oh my goodness, I love it so much. You guys need to read this series, just my love for it. It's so strong, so powerful. You gotta read it. Please read it, please. And finally, coming in at number 1 is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. How could I not put this as number 1? It is definitely my favourite book of the year. It was so good, so enjoyable, so heart-wrenching. It was so emotional, it changed me, and I adored it so much. I loved the movie of it as well. I just loved the book representation of it and everything about it, and I just fell in love with it. And I don't often read adult books, but this is one book that I fell in love with. My first ever Jojo Moyes book, and I want to read more by her, and I am going to. I also have the sequel to this, which I really want to read, but I'm so scared to read. But oh my god guys, this book was just amazing. This is basically about a girl, and she ends up being made redundant from her job in a little sort of like tea cake cafe, and so basically she doesn't have a lot of experience with jobs because she's like quite late in her 20s. I think she's like 26, pretty much the same age as me. And then there's this job that pops up to be a carer for this guy that is in a wheelchair, and he's pretty much physically paralysed from the waist down. So she's like, yep, I will do anything. And so she goes for the job, and you know, she's quite clumsy. She wears spontaneous, you know, out of this place outfit, you know, with spotty sort of tights, bright colours. She's so cheerful and she's great. And obviously Will having this accident when he used to be like really good at everything, it's made him physically paralysed, so he's useless to do anything that he ever wants to do in his life, so he's miserable because of it. And it's just sort of like their relationship that they develop, this friendship, they start talking, they watch movies together, they discover things about each other, they both change each other in like so many ways, and it's just so good. It's such a beautiful story. If you haven't read it yet, why haven't you? It's so good. Watch the movie as well, guys, because my god, I'm clapping. Oh, he is so beautiful. But this book, it's amazing. It's definitely a book that I'm going to be reading again and again and again. It deserves to be in the #1 spot. It was so good. So good in so many ways. Beautiful, amazing. I adored it. So there you have it, guys. That is my top 16 books of 2016, all the way from 16 to #1, which you saw. And you know, it was pretty easy to compile that list, definitely, when looking at the books that I read, and I'm happy with the choices that I did. And it actually makes me feel good that I read that amount of books, and it just makes me look forward to 2017 and what I can read in 2017. And I look forward to seeing what's going to be on my list for next year. And I'm just so super excited. And you know what, there's going to be like one extra book, because obviously it's 2017, so it's going to be top 17 books of 2017. So I'm hoping that I'm going to read a vast amount of really good books next year. But let me know if you have read any of the books that have made my top 16 down in the comments below, and also let me know what you guys have chosen as your 16, 10, 5, whatever number books that are of your favourite books of the year down in the comments below as well. And I will get back to you as soon as I can. But thank you very much for watching my videos. Always don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't done already, please subscribe to my channel. It would honestly mean the world to me, because you guys are absolutely fantastic and I just love you all to pieces. So keep smiling, keep reading, and be happy, and I'll see all of you wonderful awesome people in my next video. Bye!